is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of A24, the podcast that takes a look at the A24 library 24 minutes at a time. I'm Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are living in time and through time as we discuss A24's newest movie, We Live in Time.
An up-and-coming chef and a recent divorcee find their lives forever changed when a chance encounter brings them together in a decade-spanning, deeply moving romance. This movie, of course, is A24's newest movie, just came out, directed by John Crowley. It's 1 hour and 48 minutes long and stars Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. Kind of a classic two-hander, actually, which is a little interesting for a movie like this. Mm-hmm. Ben, we took last week off. Life happens, and we just couldn't get out the pod, and that's okay. But honestly, it makes today's pod loaded with lots of fun goodies. I'm really excited.
We are stacked on today's episode. There are other weeks where it's just like, I guess let's just get into it. I got nothing else going on, but that is not the case today. I'm excited for the episode. Yeah,
today is fun. So what is so fun about today is the fact that I have a hard out in a little bit. I have to go pick up my daughter for school. Like, that's a hard out. I can't miss it. We have a lot of things to talk about, and a lot of things that I deeply care about. Also, a movie that is worth a big conversation. So we're gonna try and fit it all in. We're gonna see if we can do it. There was some news, a little bit of a couple films in development for A24. I didn't really put them on the notes because I didn't think it was that worthy. The Skinamarink director, Kyle Edward Ball, set to direct a new horror film for A24 called The Land of Nod. Neither of us have seen Skinamarink, so we don't have a take on this.
Yeah, all I can take away from it is like, got to be some sort of dream movie, I guess. Land of Nod, that's all I could think of, but who knows?
Interesting. Land of Nod.
Like nodding off. Yeah,
nodding off. Oh, wow, that could be good. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to do like a Skinamarink live watch along before we dive into the next thing. Okay, let's dive into the news that I had on the dock, and then we'll talk about We Live in Time. I will make a quick note here about We Live in Time. I haven't seen it since TIFF, so about a month, maybe 6 weeks. You saw it last week. Now, the thing about We Live in Time is that it's told in a non-linear, non-chronological fashion.
Yeah.
We are going to discuss the movie through a linear storyline because that's what's on Wikipedia. And That's what I needed to jog my memory of this film.
Hell yeah. I love it. I can't wait.
Not to say I didn't like the movie, not to say that I didn't remember the movie, just to say the non-linear storytelling is very convoluted when you're trying to remember scenes from a film, and it's just easier to go by the books. So that's our plan for that. Let's do our 3 big pieces of news, and then we're gonna include it in this news. I'm so excited, so I don't really know where to go. Included in this news, Ben, you're gonna watch 2 trailers for the very first time live here on the pod. First time we've ever done it.
I'm excited. I'm nervous. I think people are going to find out just how little I know about movies and how dumb I am. Just be like, oh, that's cool. That's all I'm going to say for a minute. So I'm excited, though.
I'm very excited because I've never seen you watch a trailer. I don't really know how you consume trailers. I've done some trailer reactions on YouTube and TikTok, and I'm very animated with my trailer reactions. So I think we're in 2 different camps.
For sure.
Listeners of this pod should go back and listen to the most recent episode of the Movie Draft podcast. We did an A24 collaborative horror draft. Speaking of you and I being different people, that's all I have to say about that.
Man, we're still friends though. We're still friends even after that episode.
We're still friends. We're still recording. Okay, let's do the first big piece of news here. The 2024 Gotham Award nominees were announced this morning. We are recording on a Tuesday, the Tuesday that they were announced. Now, the Gotham Awards are generally the first quote-unquote big precursor for the award season, kind of kicks off the long-enduring award season for the next 3+ months. Do they mean a whole lot? Not really, but they've had some interesting nods over the last few years that have led to some really interesting things. I think most notably are the omissions from the Gotham Awards, and then who goes on to win things that are omitted from the Gotham Awards. Last year at the Gotham Awards, Past Lives won for Best Feature, and then went on to be nominated at the Oscars. The interesting thing about the Gotham Awards is that each category is decided by a different jury of critics, journalists, and other industry professionals, and not a voting body. So they have a lot of differences, and they recognize a lot of different things. The Gotham Awards are going to take place on December 2nd in New York, and that is usually like the first kind of big moment for what might happen in March. They're generally not televised. I think they maybe have a YouTube live stream. I can't recall.
I don't either. Is this the one that Mulaney hosted last year? Or I forget. No, that was like a governor or something.
I think that's the. I think that was either governors or the Independent Spirit Awards. I believe had a YouTube live as well last year.
Yeah.
So, nonetheless, here's what I find interesting regarding A24. I'm going to blow through these, and then I want your takes because I have a couple things to share. We've got I Saw the TV Glow, nominated for Best Director for Jane Schoenbrunn. Exciting for them. Outstanding Lead Performance, Justice Smith. Outstanding Supporting Performance, Bridget Lundy-Payne. The Brutalist, nominated for Outstanding Lead Performance for Adrian Brody and Supporting Performance, Guy Pearce. Notably here, no nomination for Best Director or Best Feature. We got to put a pin in that. A Different Man gets a nod for Best Feature and Supporting Performance for Adam Pearson. We just talked about that. Wholeheartedly deserved, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Baby Girl, Best Feature, Lead Performance, Nicole Kidman. Sing Sing, Lead Performance for Coleman Domingo, Supporting Performance for Clarence Macklin. Janet Planet, Best Screenplay, really fascinating. And Love Lies Bleeding, Supporting Performance for Katie O'Brien. Some really interesting things. Like I said, the big two for me are The Brutalist not getting a nod for director or feature, and Sing Sing not getting a nod for feature either. What do you make of these nominations?
I mean, I think it's interesting. It's great to see A24 representation for sure. Again, I know I'm on the outs of I Saw the TV Glow, but I'm happy to see it get some representation here. I think that's fantastic. Obviously, I haven't seen The Brutalist, so I don't have an opinion on that other than what I've heard. So it's surprising that there's no.
You literally haven't seen any clip of The Brutalist. You will have in about 6 minutes, but not
about 6 minutes. But as of right
now,
now, I know nothing outside of the fact that Adrian Brody and apparently Guy Pearce are in this movie. So
that's crazy to me.
That's all I know. Really happy about A Different Man, though. I think that's really cool that Adam Pearson got recognized. Surprised it got Best Feature nom. Do they do 5 or do they do 10?
I believe they do 10. Huge,
cool.
Huge surprise, honestly, for a Best Feature.
Yeah, and really just Janet Planet getting screenplay. That's wild to me. That's great. I know our movie draft co-host Sophie loved that movie. I think a lot of people did, so it's cool to see it get some love.
Yeah. I will wrap up this conversation on the Gotham Awards so we don't turn this into an entire pod. Just reading what got nominated for Best Feature. At the end of November, we are going to have our very first episode regarding the Oscars. We're going to have our first very early Oscars prediction. I'm working to get a really exciting guest for that episode who writes about the Oscars for a pretty established publication. So hopefully he can come on. Here's what we've got nominated at the Gotham Awards for Best Feature. Anora, Baby Girl, Challengers, A Different Man, and Nickel Boy. So they do in fact do 5.
Oh, wow.
So that's incredibly fascinating to me. Nickel Boys makes sense. Anora makes sense. Baby Girl makes kind of sense. I'm interested in Challengers. I think Challengers is going to be the biggest interesting knife in this awards race. Will it slice things and dice things as it potentially steals spots? I don't know.
It had a hold on us for a while, for sure, for the movie going public, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of representation it gets throughout this award season.
Yeah, exciting stuff that it got represented here at the Gotham Awards. I wonder if this means anything for I Saw the TV Glow. I wonder. Comes out with 3 nominations, the most out of any A24 film. Nice. So yeah, I'm curious to see what happens, and I'm curious to see who takes away the wins in December. But that's fun stuff. Now we have two trailers. We should do these trailers. We should watch these trailers and see what you think of them, Ben.
Now, do you want me, my traditional thing is just to watch it and soak it all in. Do you want me responding as we're watching this, or do you how do you want me to handle this?
How do you want to handle this, Ben? This is this is a personal journey. This is you. I don't want to inhibit on your trailer viewing experience. Okay. So I think what we're gonna do, you and I both have these trailers queued up. We're gonna start with The Brutalist.
Yeah.
We're gonna say 3, 2, 1, play. When we say play, we're gonna both start our trailers. Now, if you just want to sit and intake the trailer, I will be putting the audio from the trailer in the podcast. So listeners will be able to hear the trailer as well, and do the images in their brain. And then we can maybe spend a few minutes talking about thoughts on the trailer. Does that sound good to you?
That works, man. 1.1 million views after a week for the Brutalist trailer. That's amazing.
I feel like that's pretty good. I feel like 1.1 million for a movie that is a 3.5 hour American epic. I feel like that's pretty good on the trailer numbers.
With an intermission, right?
Yes. So it does have an intermission. It has a 15-minute intermission. And I don't want to say anything more. I just want you to enjoy this trailer. You don't really know a whole lot, and I want to keep it like that.
Let's do it.
Okay, Ben, your first time watching the Brutalist trailer. This is my 175th time watching the Brutalist trailer. Let's enjoy this together. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1, play. Can I talk during the trailer, or does that ruin it for you as well?
Do whatever you want to do.
I'll stay silent. Trailer's only 76 seconds.
Felicity Jones, Guy Pearce, okay. Joe Alwyn, all right.
Oh, man.
Damn.
My heart is palpitating right now. I'm short of breath.
I love Guy Pearce, so I'm so excited that he's in this.
I'm excited for you to see what happens to Guy Pearce.
Welcome to America.
Okay.
Sick.
Okay. All right. It's the vision.
All right. So we're gonna have to break because I'm gonna cry. That's about where I'm at on this trailer.
All right, cool.
Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, cinematic. It looks beautiful. There's some great shots in there. I had no idea this was apparently a coming to America story, immigration story, which I think is great. So I'm excited about that. I think Adrien Brody is a great actor. I know he can bring it. I'm excited about, like I said, Guy Pearce, Felicity Jones, Joe Alwyn. Like, this cast looks solid. Brady Corbet, is that how you say it, or Corbett? I don't know.
I think it's Corbett. I think it's Brady Corbett.
Brady Corbett, who did Vox Lux, right? Like, he directed that, which I am a fan of. I enjoy Vox Lux. This just looks like fucking night and day different, though, from Vox Lux, which is crazy to me that, like, this is what he did after, I guess. I mean, maybe he did something in between, but I think this is it. So this is quite a jump. Man, it feels like we're in, so I feel silly talking to you about it, but just like, man, this feels like an epic 3.5 hours, basically, is what I'm getting into. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
God, there's so many things I want to say, but we got to keep moving on here. I'll just say this: the Brutalist. Here's pretty much to kind of fill in a little bit about what it is for those who haven't seen it, which is an inordinate, a vast majority of the general movie going public. Fleeing from post-war Europe in 1947, visionary architect Laszlo Toth, who is played by Adrien Brody, and his wife Ursabet, who is played by Felicity Jones, settle in Pennsylvania, where a wealthy and mysterious client changes their lives forever.
Okay.
This is, like you said, a 3.5 hour American epic. It is 215 minutes. It has a 15-minute intermission. It is a masterpiece. It is monumental, as the poster says, as the trailer says. Of course, shot in VistaVision, really the first movie in, I believe, 20 plus years to be shot in 35mm VistaVision.
Dang.
They've been making prints of this on both 35mm and 70mm. They've been making their way, of course, to different festivals. Brady Corbett wins the Best Director Award at Venice. It's kind of an epic movie. It's kind of awesome. So I'll just say that. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to watch it because I know you hate movies that are longer than 100 minutes long. So I think you're predisposed to not like this film. But I hope you're on the Brutalist boy team.
I mean, this feels like it has a reason to be that long. So, and the intermission helps for sure.
For sure.
I think that's my problem with most of those super long movies is it feels like we could have cut out at least half an hour.
Interesting. Okay.
But something like this, like from what I've seen, like, yeah, I can see why you would take the time to tell this story. So
Yeah, it's good. I can't wait. I'm just dying to watch it again. Saw it at TIFF on 35 millimeter, and it is pretty astounding stuff. Making a limited release in December in New York and LA. I'm not joking when I say I've been looking at plane tickets to get to LA to see the Brutalist.
I believe you.
That's where I'm at on that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the Queer trailer. Let's talk about this movie. Again, a movie that I did see at TIFF as well. That I like. I don't think it's perfect, but I like it a lot. And there's a lot to be had. We got the first trailer this morning, the morning that we are recording. What do you know about this new movie from Luca Guadagnino?
You've said 50% of it. The other part I know is that Daniel Craig is in it. So that's it. That's literally all I know.
Okay. Yes. So this trailer, 295,000 views in 7 hours.
Cool.
I don't know if we can extrapolate that, if that's better than The Brutalist or not. I can't do that math on the spot, but well, I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It'll tail off, but yeah, we're watching on release day, so I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah. So Queer trailer, we have fired up. Now this trailer, 2 minutes and 8 seconds long. I think the interesting thing about The Brutalist is it's a 3.5 hour movie with a 76-second trailer. That is fucking fascinating to me. The juxtaposition is kind of unreal. This is a much more standard trailer. Are you ready to watch it?
I'm ready.
Okay. Same thing. We're going to say 3, 2, 1, play. We'll get into We Live in Time after we talk about Queer for a couple of minutes. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, play.
I love how they work the logo into the movie.
I was just going to say, I always love it when A24 works the logo into the film, in the trailer. Score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Oh, nice.
Notably here at the beginning of the trailer.
The wise old queen who taught me that I had a duty to live. You know, to conquer hate with knowledge and sincerity and love.
The difficulty is to convince someone else he is really part of you.
The little wave is so cute to me.
So good. I love Bond, Daniel Craig, but I love non-Bond. Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. What a cover.
Mm-hmm.
I've got bigger fish to fry.
Bigger fish is right. Cold, slippery.
William S. Burroughs
Schwartzman?
novel.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What a look.
What you got to lose?
William S. Burroughs novels, notably pretty difficult to put on screen.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that shot.
I want to talk to you.
Okay.
Without speaking.
Some beautiful visuals.
Just gorgeous. Just two, just striking, beautiful people.
Mm-hmm. This Nirvana cover is crazy.
It's really good.
Door's already open, can't close it now. All you can do is look away. But why would you?
Okay.
Screenplay by Justin Kurtzkitz, of course, the same person who wrote the screenplay for Challengers with Luca as well.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Queer trailer, Ben?
I'm very excited about it. It looks like a wonderful story. Like I said, I love Daniel Craig just in general. I think he's a great Bond, but it's almost like Daniel Radcliffe stuff. Like when you get him outside of the role that people know him for, he's able to be really kind of loose and free and do other stuff that you don't expect. And this feels like that fits into it. So I'm very excited about this.
I watched this trailer this morning, and then I promptly texted you and I was like, "Have you seen it? If you haven't, please don't watch it. Save it for the pod, so we could do a double dip here." But when I watched it, now I said I was actually much warmer on Queer than a lot of people at TIFF, from what I noticed. but I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I'm really excited to see it for a second time. And that was solidified by watching this trailer this morning. I think it is a really remarkable trailer, and it immediately made me want to watch the movie again. And and I think this movie is going to age remarkably well. I think it will only get better the more times we watch it, the more times that you enter this world with Daniel Craig and Luca and the whole team. So I'm really excited to see this again. I'm super curious what you're gonna think about this movie. I don't want to give anything away, but I think it's much more free spirited than I think anything Luca has done previously.
Okay.
So take that for what you will. But I can't wait to talk about it. Of course, we're gonna cover it on the pod.
Yeah. Stay tuned. It's like coming out in November. Like, when is it supposed to drop?
So. I think it's got a limited release in November.
Okay.
Will A24 be bidding for a Best Picture nom? Doubtful.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But Daniel Craig for sure. Drew Starkley, maybe Best Supporting Actor. Gosh, there's a lot. Like, in my opinion, I watched this and I remembered the movie and I was like, okay, cool. So Justin Kariskas should be getting 2 screenplay noms this year, and Atticus and Ross should be getting 2 score noms this year. Like, is that what we're doing? Because that would be the right thing to do. I don't know.
I'm just looking at our schedule and I'm just like, man, if these come out, like, we're covering We Live in Time today, which is great.
Yep.
Heretic, Y2K, Baby Girl, Queer, The Brutalist, like possibly all 6 of these within a 2 to 2.5 month period. Like, that's crazy. That's nuts.
It's big. And then the movie that also played at TIFF called On Becoming a Guinea Fowl that we don't know anything about ever. And I don't know if A24 is ever going to release that. So we've got best of both worlds. Best of both worlds. Okay, that was fun. I like doing that.
That was good.
Yeah, we should watch more A24 trailers together. That was a blast.
Notably, I did watch the Legend of Ochi trailer, and we didn't save that for this pod, but needless to say, that looks like a movie. That'll be interesting.
That was exactly my takeaway. Like, cool, someone made a movie. Yeah,
good job.
It's got visuals, it's got sound. That's what's in that film. Okay, should we talk about We Live in Time?
I guess, man, let's get to it. I can't avoid it anymore.
Okay, Ben, tell me what you thought about We Live in Time, because it sounds like you have a connection to this movie.
Yeah, the last time I felt this close to a movie, and I already feel myself getting emotional, this is crazy, is when we talked about Close and going into a movie where I just like, there were maybe some unexpected ties that I had to it that I wasn't ready for. And that definitely happened here, where I was just like, oh shit, like there are pieces of this that feel like it just got taken out of my life. This is kind of wild to watch on screen. So it just like, it hit really close to home on certain aspects. And so for that reason, like, I can't separate myself from it. Like, I think it was really well done and it affected me. I have like looked at some other people's reviews about the script and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily think those things are wrong. Like, what people have to say, like, maybe it's not the strongest script in the world, but the chemistry for me between Andrew and Florence was just like undeniable. It was there. I believed them as a couple. I believed them as a couple in love with each other who would do anything for each other. And I thought it functioned really well. I mean, again, to the point where it's just like, it's like, I feel like Adam Driver in Marriage Story. It was like, I cried 4 times, but it was like, it was 4 really long times, it's just like, it just kept going. So, it feels weird to say I enjoyed this movie because it really kind of messed me up. But I do think it was really effective and, well done. And I understand that it's hard for me to like be objective about it with the amount of stuff that kind of talk to me personally. And so just take that for whatever it's worth. If you're listening to this, it's like, this for me, this really, really worked.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm excited. I don't disagree with you. And I'm glad you liked this movie as much as you did. So I saw this movie at TIFF. I saw this the day after the world premiere, which I thought was interesting to world premiere this movie at TIFF. It does feel like a good TIFF movie. I saw this at a press and industry screening the next morning. pretty full. A lot of people were really excited about this movie and wanted to see it. I like this movie. I didn't love this movie. And I don't have the personal connection that you took to it. I do have a different personal connection, but I wonder if it's been long enough for me now where I've seen too many other movies and where I'm like, oh, it's not as emotionally impacting as if I were to, have rewatched it going into this pod or recorded, a day after seeing it or a week after seeing it. Of course, I think for me, the biggest connection personally comes from them and their journey to have a child and what that means for their life and how that impacts their life and how they resonate perhaps beyond their physical being to their child, to their partner, and to the world at large. That's the stuff that really, really worked for me. You mentioned the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. I liked it. I just thought I thought it was a little gimmicky, and it didn't fully, I just couldn't sell myself on it for some reason. And I think that's a general consensus is it's really emotional, it's really moving, but I think the broad idea and what I fall under as well is it's a okay movie that's acted wonderfully.
Okay.
Because if you don't have Andrew Garfield, if you don't have Florence Pugh, this movie is, in my opinion, this movie is bad. This just is not a good film.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm doing a cardinal sin here, and I'm backtracking on what I just said. But if they don't have togetherness, the movie definitely doesn't work. But I guess I feel like I wanted a little bit more out of it, even though I did cry, like you said, 4 times, probably 5 times.
Yeah.
It's a pretty emotionally impacting film. It's a little astounding.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely one way to put it. And I hear what you're saying, and I think that's what I'd seen a lot of people say, that this is, again, a weak script with great actors, which is totally understandable. But I guess my response to that is well, we got great actors though, so it's a good movie. I can see why this could have been bad, but I feel like that unfortunately probably relates to a lot of movies. If we didn't have the actors we had, it's I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be as good. But yeah, I don't know. I believed it. I was into it. I didn't see the gimmicky side of their relationship. It felt sincere to me. But again, maybe that's because I felt like I was seeing people that were more in my age group. The discussion about whether to have kids is obviously that's a interesting discussion that maybe people in their 20s don't necessarily need to have, or can have it a different way. But if you connect with a partner in your mid 30s or later, that's a conversation that gets handled differently. And I think it was good to see that in this movie, because I feel like it's often, we don't see a lot of stories, I think, that are kind of like that. So it was interesting to see their story, and that's why it worked for me.
It is really fascinating that, to your point, the movie does take place with kind of an older couple. They're not young, 22, 24, falling in love, figuring out their world. They're both very established in their careers. Yeah. They're both in their late 30s. They both are, Andrew Garfield's character is getting divorced. Tobias Ulmet, who is played by Florence Pugh, she is trying to become something more and continue on her career path. So that is pretty interesting in what it does narratively. I have here listed on the notes, is it too sad? Do you think this movie's too sad? Is there a line between, because we talk about movies like After Sun here on the pod, or even other A24 movies The Farewell, or even Everything Everywhere All at Once, if you want to put that in the boat, where it's this is really, really sad. Do you think We Live in Time is too sad?
I don't know if, I don't know if this movie is more sad than After Sun. I think what happens is with the non-linear stories, we get the sad stuff sooner. It's not a build up to the sad reveal of them dancing at the club and him turning away and walking out the door and just
God
just wrecking you.
Don't
You know
even
what I
say
mean?
that, because if you say that, I will start to cry.
But like that's the build up for After Sun is we're getting there. Whereas like in We Live in Time, it's like 20 minutes in, it's like, dude, stage 4 cancer done. It's like, oh, all right, fuck. Okay. So we're getting this throughout the entire thing rather than like maybe building up to it with moments of sadness. It's like, no, we're going to hit you with the gut punch pretty early. And still like a gut punch at the end as well. But for me, it's just a sustained sadness as opposed to like a built up sadness. So maybe that's too much. Maybe that's too much.
Yeah, maybe it's too much. That does bring me to my next question. Does the nonlinear storytelling work? Because I think you're totally right. I think we get hit with the sadness much quicker and like much speedier. And it's interesting. I watched a movie last night for the first time. I watched Sleepless in Seattle, which, you're probably wondering like, why is this in the same conversation as We Live in Time? But like that movie, if you've seen that movie, the first 5 minutes are just monstrously sad. It's just like immediately sad. And this movie is kind of similar where it's like, oh, we're just like being sad maybe all the time. Maybe there's like a little bit of happiness here and there and sparks of joy, but like it's definitely sad all the time. So that idea, I think, only does work with the nonlinear storytelling. Did that nonlinear storytelling work for you?
Yeah, I think it totally worked for me. I've been trying to think about this movie told in a linear fashion, and that's for me where like maybe it doesn't work as well. So I think the nonlinear aspect of it was effective.
I think the only way to tell this story is in a nonlinear fashion.
Yeah.
I don't think it works if you do the buildup. And it feels like if you went that direction, it maybe is even like much more inauthentic or much like hokier, where it's just like, yeah, where I know we've seen this movie a lot. Like I get it. They're in love and they're struggling, and then like one of them is going to die, and it's really sad. Yeah. And we've seen it, but I do think the nonlinear storytelling helps in that aspect. I do think it's a little abrasive at first, where you're just like, whoa, we're jumping around. Like, okay, we're doing this and trying to understand our characters. And I think it takes maybe 20 or 25 minutes to kind of get settled and to maybe sit in some scenes a little bit longer to feel like we understand these characters better, and we can understand the importance of their convergence and what they're doing with their life. It does an interesting thing to the pace of the film as well. I think the film feels pretty swift. I know it's not very long, 108 minutes, but it's like, that's closer to 2 hours than 90 minutes. So it does feel remarkably quick because of the nonlinear storytelling too.
Yeah, I think it flows very well. I didn't feel the runtime at all while I was playing. So yeah,
me neither. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen this movie. I wasn't able to rewatch it before this pod. But I think we should do True Cinema. I think we should go through
Let's
this
do
movie.
it. Linear True Cinema.
Yes, so this would be our linear True Cinema, and not aligned with the fashion of the film, but it's okay. It's the best that we can do, and I guess we'll find out truly if telling the story in a linear fashion is worse, because that's what we're gonna do. Okay, let's do this. So first, in the linear storyline, Tobias, played by Andrew Garfield, gets hit by Almut, who's played by Florence Pugh. Now he's going through a divorce. We kind of get this buildup, I think, in the movie of like he's trying to sign these papers for his divorce, and then I believe he ends up walking to the store from his hotel to get a pen. Ends up getting hit by Almut, and then going to the hospital. She takes him to the hospital. He kind of awakens in all of his braces and his neck brace, and he's beaten up pretty badly. And they kind of have like a meet cute moment that feels very very cute, very heartfelt, and very silly. And I liked it. I liked it when they met.
Yeah, this is where we get some of the charm, I think, of both Garfield and Pugh. Is Garfield's going to get a pen because his pen leaked through his shirt. And because it leaked through his shirt, he's going to the store in the robe from his hotel because he doesn't have anything that's clean. I don't know why he couldn't have had pants on, but he didn't, and that's fine. So he gets hit, and then he wakes up. He's like, where's my underwear? It's like, oh, I have no idea, but they found a bunch of pens. We get a funny line like the chocolate orange was pronounced dead at the scene. And that's like where we get some of the humor and charm between them. It's like, okay, these guys have a good rapport going on pretty early, which is kind of nice. And so it's fun to see the lighter side of it before we get into the super heavy stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. I think they have good humor with each other. Like they have good rapport back and forth where they kind of they understand each other. I guess I just like I don't know. It to me, I think the best way to put it is like it felt like they were in a movie. And I feel like these kinds of films and these kinds of relationships or chemistry between two really big people that are both really hot and are hot on screen and have great compatibility are, I think what makes that work is the fact that it does feel like maybe they're not in a movie sometimes. And so that was just like my personal experience with that. Next bullet point here I have going to Almut's restaurant for dinner, and then going home for dinner in all caps. That's what I've put on the docket here. Because this is where Tobias finds out she's a chef, finds out that she works at a restaurant, goes by himself to the restaurant. Very cute. I think they have like a meal together, right? Like in a diner or something, and they talk about this.
Yeah, so this is that meal happens right after the hospital. They go and get burgers, and he still has this wedding ring on because he hasn't officially signed the papers yet, but he kind of like flounders around the answer about whether or not he's married. So she invites him to the restaurant opening and says, feel free to bring your wife. And he's just like, okay, just like doesn't want to like ruin the moment or whatever. He's like, all right. Shows up to the opening of the restaurant, but he's there alone. And that's when she finds out like, oh, he's not married or he's separated, at the very least. So that's when that happens. And then, like you said, they go home for dessert of some sort, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's fair. Look, I don't mind watching Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield have sex.
No,
on
not
screen.
at all.
I think that's a big win of this film, to be honest.
We need more of it in movies. I think it's great.
Yes, we do.
It serves a function. It served a function.
I don't know what the polls are all about that are coming out here saying people want less sex in films. Guys, come on.
Kids.
This is important stuff, children. Yeah, so go to dinner, go back home for a little bit of dessert. Lovely stuff. Next up I have here, and I hope you can shed a little bit of light on this because I have the next bullet point. Tobias apologizes to Almut while she is at a baby shower. Now, Almut goes to a baby shower with some of her friends. Her and Tobias kind of get into this scuffle with each other about wanting children and how that will impact their lives. And I believe it's to the effect that she is at this point in time, has she been diagnosed with cancer? Is that why she's apprehensive to have children?
No, at this point, they hosted a party, everyone leaves, and he's there, and he's like, basically it's like, I just want to find out where we're at with having kids. Like, we don't even know if they're like technically boyfriend, girlfriend at this point. Like, it still feels pretty early on, but it's hard to tell with the linear storytelling. He's like, I just want to find out where we're at with kids because I'm afraid I'm going to fall in love with you. Right. And that's why I need to find out. And she's like, well, first of all, I'm 34, so chill out. Like we don't need to talk about kids right now. And I'm a little offended that you would like put that on me, all this kind of stuff. So that's when they kind of have their fight and he leaves. Pardon me. Some other stuff happens and then like non-linearly. And then we come back to this where there's a baby shower, not hers, but there's a baby shower being held at her apartment. And he sneaks in with the pizza guy. And he's just like, hey,
pretty funny.
I'm here. And then he just kind of apologizes. And he just says some beautiful stuff where it's just like, I got too lost in looking down the road and into the future. And I was blind to like what was just right in front of me and what like the now. So I'm sorry for that. Like, I just want to focus on us. We don't actually like see a resolution happen there. Like it just cuts from the party, which I thought was weird. Like then we just like, we don't know how it went other than the fact that we know they're together. So obviously it went well, but yeah. So that was the context of it, is him being like, I want kids. I don't know if you do. She says, fuck you. They break up. Then he comes back and apologizes. He's like, it's important that we're together, not that we have kids. And that's it.
Yes. A big moment for sure in their first like growing into a serious relationship. And I guess much like Tobias, I jumped ahead. I looked down the road because next up on the list is the cancer reveal. Now, this is when Almut basically discovers that she has ovarian cancer explains to Tobias that she has been suggested to have a hysterectomy to prevent the cancer from spreading. And they have some conversation regarding this, and Tobias, of course, very lovingly respects her decision to do this. And then she ends up going into remission eventually. And I think this kind of spurns their conversation once again to have children, and what that might mean for their legacy, and what it might mean for each other, and kind of as this glue for each other. They both want something similar, but they want to really get there in different ways and through a different journey. Pretty sad stuff here at this point in the film.
Yeah, I mean, the cancer reveals itself is tragic and impactful, but to me, just as is her explaining her options, like you said, where it's I can have a hysterectomy and that will kind of take care of the cancer. You don't have to worry about it. But obviously that means what it means as far as having kids, or they can take out the one ovary and leave me with one, which gives me a chance to have kids, but also gives it a chance to come back.
Yep. And
she's like, I think I want to go with that route, go with the second route. And that's what they decide to do, to try and have kids. And then obviously after that, we get the baby montage of them trying to get pregnant and all that kind of stuff, the IVF, all that, until it finally takes. But it's a really strong scene for me.
Yeah, it really is. And of course their journey to have kids, and once she gets pregnant, we kind of get this big montage of their life and how he supports her, and she's just in the bath constantly, or and I thought it was a pretty inventive way to span 9 months of pregnancy in maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and works quite well. And then it leads us to definitely the funniest scene of the film.
Yeah,
for sure. Perhaps the longest time period that we get to stay in the film. And this is them giving birth to the baby in the petrol station on New Year's Eve. They're trying to drive to the hospital, and it starts off really funny too, because Tobias is basically boxed in his car and can't get out, so he just rams his car into the cars next to him, and it's just we'll figure it out later. I gotta drive you to the hospital. They get stuck in traffic. They go into the petrol station. I can't remember what exactly for. Do they go in there for something, and then they find out we're not gonna make it to the hospital. We gotta come into the bathroom.
Yeah. So to back up a little bit, the boxed in situation is hilarious. Even more so because that's when we find out she's only 2 centimeters dilated and they have to go back home. She's not actually giving birth then. So he rammed this person's car and
for no reason.
They just have to go back home. But later when she's actually going into labor, they're stuck in traffic because there's an accident. So they're kind of in this tunnel thing, and he's trying to figure out if there's a way to get out, comes back to the car and sees that she's gone, and she's walking to the gas station because I think her water is broken, or she just has to go to the bathroom. So, and wants to get some snacks, whatever. So they go in there, and then while she's in the bathroom, the door breaks. The lock is stuck, and so they can't get in or can't get out. So then it becomes this kind of funny, physical humor, just trying to pound down the door, and just the key breaking off inside the lock, all just this these moments of accidents and stuff like that. But obviously we eventually get inside, and one of the more endearing moments, I think, with the woman that works at the petrol station, being there to support her, while the other guy is also there to support, but he's just kind of hands off a little bit, I don't know what to do here, this is kind of wild. So so then they give birth in the bathroom of the petrol station.
Could you give birth to a child in the bathroom of a petrol station, Ben?
Number one, I could never give birth. Even if I was a woman, I don't know if I could do it, because it just seems just wild. But I mean, I guess you got to do what you got to do. If you're in that situation, you literally can't get to the hospital. What are you going to do? Not ideal, but
not ideal.
I would try to work something about the gas station into my kid's name, I think, just for memory's sake.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Ben Petrol Lawhorn Jr.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Benjamin Shell Lawhorn. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, Benjamin BP Jr.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I do agree with you. One of the more endearing scenes for sure. I was tearing up. I was crying. I think, like I said at the top of the pod, what struck me the most about this film is like how children drastically change your life. And the idea of having a kid versus the reality of having a kid and kind of the divergence in that and how it might look similar and might look different. And of course, I think this is a great way to construct that of just like the kid is coming. Like this is what kids do.
Yeah.
Like you have to manage and you have to figure it out and you have to do what you have to do. I think Andrew Garfield is well suited for like this type of role where he's just like kind of this really incompetent, good looking guy where he's just like, I'm so sorry. I get so flustered and I got to hit these cars. Kind of like big Jim Halpert energy, which I think is pretty good in this situation. I just like, I don't know. Florence Pugh is just so gorgeous. I think that's my problem.
Yeah.
She's just too beautiful.
She really is. I mean, even in the midst of like giving birth and stuff like that, like she still looks great. I think Jim Halpert makes sense. I was thinking maybe because of British, but it's like he's like a modern day Hugh Grant, kind of just bumbling through stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But either way, I think both of them work really well in this scene.
Next on the list, I have 3 years later. This is we get kind of a big time jump here in the linear storytelling of things. And of course, this is, it does state it's a decade spanning love story, which I think is true, obviously, but I think it's overselling it a little bit because decade spanning, in my opinion, is like leads me to believe like, cool, we're gonna spend 2 hours and 35 minutes going through 15 years of love. And that's not quite what we get here. But 3 years later, Almut is a big chef at a big restaurant, but her cancer is back, and we have to deal with this idea again. I think this is again one of the more kind of heart-wrenching moments of the film where she basically says like, I'd rather have 6 to 8 great months than have my child grow up with a sick parent. Now, I have a personal connection to this. One of my best friends passed away from cancer almost 2 years ago now. He has young children, so very similar situation to this. He was very sick and he was undergoing treatment, and so this idea of 6 to 8 great months to avoid, my children growing up as this lasting impression of their parent is so true, is so heart-wrenching. It is so heartbreaking to watch happen. I do think for me, I probably put up a brick wall when I saw this movie, and I was just like, I can't get too attached. I can't Iron Claw this thing, because I did the same thing with Iron Claw where I just wasn't ready, and then I like the Noah's Ark situation happened, and God was like, just flood your heart with tears. So this is an important moment for sure, and I think a driving force, of course, in the back act of the film that drives some more of the heartbreaking decisions of their relationship.
Definitely. And I think if I remember correctly, this happens kind of early in the movie.
I feel like it does.
Like we find this out pretty early. And like you said, she makes the case of just like, you have 6 great months, or you have 12 months that are really passive and really like sick. And even after 12 months, it still may not have taken hold. So like, what do you do? Are you going to regret those 12 months, or are you going to like love the 6 months? So yeah, it's a tough scene. I mean, much different age group, but like my grandma passed away from cancer, and she kind of went through the same thing. We're like, you have treatment and you could like live for 2 more years or whatever. He's like, or you probably have like 6 months. She's like, well, I don't want to just be sick for 2 years. Like, what's the point? But granted, obviously my grandmother was much older. She lost her husband like 30, 40 years earlier. So she was just like, I'm ready. Like, let's just have a good time while we can. But I can't imagine making that decision when you're in your 30s, it's just like, what do you do? But probably the first like heart-wrenching scene of the movie.
Absolutely agree. Then they explain the fact that cancer is back to their daughter. It's a tough scene to watch, I think, because it's like hard to put yourself in those shoes and be like, okay, I gotta explain like, hey, mom's dying. That's fucking insane to me. Also pretty funny that the server just comes over and is like, what's going on, guys? How we doing this morning? And they're just like, not now. Now is not the time. Which like, I don't know. I don't know if that scene works entirely for me because it is so authentic. Like, I think that's the downfall is like, if you're having that conversation with your kid and you are out somewhere like that and a server were to come and interrupt, like that shit sucks. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to see that in a movie, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, that totally makes sense. And yeah, I guess the flip side of it is I think it's why it worked for me because like this movie to me is all about just like life, just like having its way with you, so to speak. Like there's nothing we can do to control it. It is what it is. So yeah, totally understandable there.
This next scene kind of is interspersed throughout the entire film. It's kind of this overarching idea. Almut is invited to participate in the Bocuse d'Or. Is that how you say it? I can't remember.
Bocuse d'Or, I believe.
Bocuse d'Or,
Yeah.
which is like a massive cooking competition, like one of the best in the world. She's just an incredible chef, is invited to do this. Now, of course, the competition is going to happen on the same day of their planned wedding. I get it. It's effective narratively. That's a very tired trope of like, oh no, we have two big events that are converging. And I'm turning into a little bit of a sourpuss on this episode, but it works and it does drive the narrative for most of the film. And we kind of gradually see her like, make the decision to train for this competition instead of going to get chemo, to go practice recipes, go practice in the kitchen, even when she is feeling terrible and tells her family that she doesn't want to be around them or taking care of or things like that. And I think for her character, it's a really interesting journey for her to say, like, this is what life has dealt me. Also, this is the thing I really want. So which one, how do I manage? Which one do I want more? And of course, she pursues the competition. And, her and Tobias do have a pretty big eruption about this towards the end of the film, I believe, where he is very rightfully hurt about her decisions.
Yeah, this is the part, I think, in the movie where we are just linear from here on out. Like, there's no more jumping back and forth. But yeah, she signs up for this. There's like different heats, so she doesn't necessarily know from the beginning. I mean, at that point, I don't think they have a date set for the wedding. I don't believe anyway, but yeah, there's different levels they have to go through, kind of like the Olympics. And of course, they end up making it to this final heat. There's some funny stuff that happens though throughout this. Like, I love that her chef is like, "Are you using?" And she's like, "Sweater's like, I'm not using. I'm fucking chemotherapy. That's why I'm throwing up and I look awful. Like, I'm not using." But I hear what you're saying. I think it's valid. Where it's just like a trope of just like, the convergence of two big events on the same day. Like, what's going to happen here? Having said that, though, like, I think it really lays the groundwork for this argument that they have, because you understand just why Andrew Garfield is so hurt. Like, I can't believe, like, on this day that was for us, you instead chose something else. But then that allows her to then bring up, like, but what about me? Like, what am I going to leave? So it worked wonderfully for me.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's a very real life tough decision. Like you said, I think we're pretty much linear through the rest of the film. So I'll talk about the few things here. We can dissect them. Like I mentioned, they get into the argument about kind of their lasting impact on each other, on the world, on their daughter, and what that will mean for her life. They go to the competition. She cooks just wondrously. They're in the crowd, which I want to give a shout out. As a parent, bringing your young child to a competition that lasts like 6 to 9 hours and sitting quietly in the stands is unrealistic. I just want to put that out there. Would not happen. She gets a little tired toward the end of the competition, has her sous chef finish it up. Before any results are announced or anything like that, they go out to be together as a family. They do some ice skating. Very cute, very heartfelt moment. And then we kind of get this final scene with Tobias and his daughter. They go home. They have a dog, which they had previously talked about getting in the film to kind of help with the psychologizing of a mom that's passing away. And then he teaches his daughter Ella how to crack an egg, just as Almut had taught him. It's a very effective ending. It's a very effective final 15 minutes of the movie. That's for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we didn't talk about it on here, but there's a point where they have dinner with Almut's family, and that's where Tobias learns that she was like a figure skater back in the day. And it's just like, what? You never told me this. But then we find out that she doesn't talk about it because it's like the thing that she had with her dad before her dad passed. So she doesn't do it anymore. So it becomes so impactful and meaningful that she then like leaves this thing to go ice skating with her family. Cause like the first time she's really done it since her dad passed, but now she has a family to share it with. Yeah, but I mean, this is also the moment for me that like it's very effective, but it was also just like I did get a little like, oh my God, you guys, like, come on. Cause like she's on one side of the ice rink and the other two are on the other. They're just like waving at each other. It's like, all right, you can't like, you know, I saw TV Glow a lot of shit for me. Like, you get it's a trans allegory because like everyone keeps talking about it. And I was watching this, I'm like, oh, do you get it? Because she's waving goodbye to them. You know, it's like she's literally waving goodbye. So, yeah, I was kind of just like, all right, you guys, this is ridiculous. But that final scene though with the dog, with the eggs, all that kind of stuff is just like, oh my God, like it was, yeah, it just worked.
Yeah, totally. I'm in agreement with you. I think and for me, like that's why I'm like, it's an okay movie with two really good actors because it's just like, come on, guys. Like I guess I expected better from the source material and from the actors because it seems as though it should be something like for the ages. Like this should be like a 4.5-star comfort movie that makes me so sad, but it's so wonderfully done that I just endure the pain. And it just didn't quite come across in that way for me. I think for me, for my true cinema, I'll probably go with the birth to the baby in the petrol station because I think it's a remarkably emotional scene, but it, you know, also shout out to like petrol workers. You're doing the Lord's work out there sometimes.
They're just helping everybody. I love it. Yeah, I don't know. I think similarly, it's when they leave the first time and just even just the physical comedy of being trapped in the spot there and back up, go forward, and all of that. I mean, they make that joke last forever. Like we're there, it seems like for 5 minutes. Like we get back and forth, like I think 3 or 4 times, and then he finally pulls forward. They go through the whole thing, and then it's like, oh, also you're not giving birth right now. It's like, oh my God, we went through all of this, and they just have to go back home right now. Like that's crazy. But it was super funny to me.
Yeah, pretty funny, pretty good scene of the movie. Any other broad thoughts on We Live in Time before we do the A1 act here?
I'm just really enjoying talking about it with you, just like seeing it from different perspectives. You know how like you said, like there's a point where you just almost like put up a wall. It's like I can't get too attached to this, like whatever. And like me, I just like it just fucking shot down my wall. I couldn't prevent it from taking over my brain, you know, for the 2 hours. So I thought it was super interesting.
I'd be really curious, much aligned with Queer and the Brutalist, to be honest. I'd be very curious to see how this does on a rewatch. Because I know what to expect. I'm a little more aligned on the tonality of the film and maybe some of the gimmicky tropes. And so I know that that's coming, and I wonder if I'll be able to like buy into it better on a rewatch. I don't think if I were to rewatch it, I don't think I'm going to be like, wow, man, I was so wrong. I think this is a masterpiece. But yeah, I also like, I'm a parent, and so I go through these ideas on a pretty consistent basis of like, am I parenting the right way where in 35 years my kid won't have to go to therapy? Like I deal with that on a regular cadence. And so like this movie does feel like it's trying to speak to that, and I'm like, I'm good. I have my experiences with that. So I don't maybe that's part of it. Again, Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh, just really hot too. So a little distracting. I got to be honest.
What can you do?
What can you do? Okay, let's do our A1 act here. We're going to do saddest movies ever. I figured this was a pretty good one for We Live in Time. Here's the short list. We Live in Time, Manchester by the Sea, La La Land. Had to put it on the list.
Got to.
Titanic, Aftersun, The Notebook, Grave of the Fireflies. I've heard it's up there. Blue Valentine. You heard of that movie?
No, I haven't. Is that new? I haven't heard of that before.
Unaware. Not sure what that film is. Come and See. Schindler's List. Atonement. The Green Mile. Beautiful Boy. Steel Magnolias. About Time. Toy Story 2. I thought worthy to be on this short list. Past Lives. Brokeback Mountain. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg I wanted to put on here. And The Pianist as well, speaking of Adrian Brody. That's the short list that I came up with. Do you have something you're gonna toss out here?
Yeah, I mean, I already mentioned in this episode, it's close. I mean, just that's just my personal pick because a movie has never hit me like that movie did. So that's got to be my pick. But this is up there. Manchester is a fucking dude, that's a rough movie.
That's tough sit.
Yeah, that's.
I haven't watched
pick,
it, and I don't know if you're selling me on it, to be honest.
I don't know that I would ever sell anyone on it. Like I don't know, man. That's a wild pick.
I don't know if this is a lame pick, but it's on brand. I'm going with La La Land. La La Land is like the first movie that I watched where it's just like, oh man, life fucking sucks sometimes, you know? Like it just doesn't pan out the way that you thought. And that's pretty tough. After Sun would be my very close second, because I think, you know, we've discussed it here on the show before, the emotional impact of that film. But I think there's something in La La Land that is just a brilliant juxtaposition, much as We Live in Time attempts to do, where it's just like you have the good and then you have the reality. That's just what happens sometimes. Okay, let's give our A24 ranking for We Live in Time. Ben, I'm really curious what you're going to go with here.
I'm going to go with an A-24.
Ooh,
I think it's what I'm going to go with for this movie. Yeah.
That's really good.
Really liked it. I see that there's room for improvement, so that's why I wouldn't give it an A or an A+, but I also, it's like I have no notes, but I can see where someone might say like, you could make it better. So
sure. Yeah. Perfect, but do better.
Yeah. Perfect, but make it better.
I'm going to go with a B- on this one. Liked it, didn't love it. I think there's room to do some better things. But you know, I think there's a lot of admirable work here. And I think it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie. Like, and I think it does have some really emotionally profound ideas and themes that are important to experience and work through and talk about, and all of the things that the movie encourages us to do. Plus, there's hot movie stars, so
always great.
Yeah, always a big win. But yeah, I'll go with a B- for We Live in Time. Ben, any closing thoughts on We Live in Time, Brutalist, Queer, anything out there?
Going back to our A1 act, if you haven't seen Steel Magnolias, watch that movie. It's really good.
I haven't seen it.
It's fantastic. Sally Field fucking owns. She's the best.
I do like Sally Field.
Yeah.
Should I watch that or Manchester by the Sea? What do you think?
Oh my God. Do Manchester first so you can like watch your
regulate. Yeah,
exactly. With Steel Magnolia.
Okay, will do. Next week on the pod, The End of the Tour. This is a movie that's a little bit deeper in the A24 catalog, but Jesse Eisenberg has a new movie coming out that he stars in, that he directed, called A Real Pain. I got the chance to see it back in January at Sundance. It's coming out in theaters, I believe, in November at some point in time. Should be actually a pretty prominent awards player. I'm very interested to see. But we thought we would celebrate Jesse Eisenberg and the release of A Real Pain by talking about his A24 film, The End of the Tour. Of course, we've talked about his other directorial effort here on the show.
Yeah, what was that called? With the
something with the world, something Julianne Moore. Tracy Letts is in that movie, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So we're doing a big disservice to Tracy Letts.
Really are. Yeah.
When I Finish Saving the World, is that what it's called?
That sounds great.
It sounds great. Doesn't sound right though. That's When I Finish Saving. I'm not going to type in When I Finish in the letterbox. When You Finish Saving the World.
When You Finish Saving. Yeah.
A movie that I thought was okay. But Jesse Eisenberg, I'll say, has really found his footing with A Real Pain. So we're going to do The End of the Tour. Have you seen this movie?
No, I haven't.
Me neither. Interested to see what happens.
I
know nothing about it.
John Cusack's in it, so I'm stoked.
Okay. Wow.
Right,
big
go.
win. Sounds like a great time.
Yeah, join us next week for The End of the Tour. It'll be an interesting conversation, but let us know what your thoughts were on We Live in Time. We're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. Did you cry like us or not? I don't know.
We should put out the poll. How many times did you cry during We Live in Time?
More or less than 4. Please let us know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can watch us talk about these movies. You can watch me try to hold back my emotions so I don't cry while I talk about them. We appreciate the support. Everyone really means a lot. Thank you. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. Spring break forever, bitches.